Welcome, everybody, and I am very pleased to be here at Airport Days here in Forest Lake, and this is our annual fly-in that we have established years ago for the residents of Forest Lake and for the youth. And I have former city council member and former
Town board member,
and also the head of the airport commission, and you name it, Rick Ashbach. Now, I'd like everybody to know that Rick and I, this is our 12th continual process in interviewing and seeing what the opportunities at this airport is and has and going to continue to do for this community. Rick, thank you for coming on.
I appreciate the invitation.
You know, when you look around, as I told you just a little while ago, I've never seen so much activity and so many planes and so much going on in this community. And it's dedication from you and a few of the other fellows to make this happen. How does this bring about a sense of accomplishment and a feeling for you?
Well, it's great. You know, the weather has really been cooperating over the years, and to have the community come out, you know, and this is a community event. The pilot community as well as the local community comes out, and we've started pancake breakfasts now, and so we even get them out here sooner and earlier. And the airspace has been busy this morning. I've taken a few youth for rides, and they've had big smiles all morning long, and just a fun event. Generally, we fly anywhere from 175 to 200 youth during an event like this, and it's weather dependent. You know, if it gets windy and it gets rough, we don't. We quit flying them, but then we just get their names and try to give them a ride at a later date.
How has this festivity? How is it funded?
It's funded by volunteers. Number one, for the labor and everything, and then number two, by donations that we get in order to help pay for some of the things that come here, and then. But it's mostly just labor and time for giving back time to the airport and to the community.
Now, years ago, when this whole dream came to the city council, give a quick overview of the history of how this opportunity even began and how now where it's at and what's your vision for the future.
Well, very good. The airport was owned by Shorty DePonte. He's known as Minnesota's most successful aviation entrepreneur, and he built the airport and he sold it to Kay and Tom Doherty and Dan DePonte back in 1967. And they kept it as a private airport open to the public all the years until 1998, and Kay and Tom sold to the township at the time, and then it became part, the city and the township were united, and now it's under the control of the city. And we get funding for projects through the city and through the state of Minnesota. And funding for a project by the state, there's a gas tax, aviation tax there's a tax on aviation fuel, and the state collects that, and then they use it and distribute it for aviation purposes around the state of Minnesota. And one more thing I'd like to add is I liken an airport to an interchange on a freeway. It's where people come and go out of, just like an interchange. So they come into the community and they spend time in the community for all the purposes that they do in a car to getting off the interstate. And then the airways are the interstate itself, and they go from airport to airport through the air, and they bring commerce to the cities. They bring friends they come and visit friends and everything else. So I always like to liken an airport to an interchange on the interstate.
As a continuing effort to expose our area to all the necessary tools to make this event successful and safe, we are very fortunate to have the commitment of the Civil Air Patrol out of Anoka. Now, many of you know over the years, because of my son-in-law and then my grandson, they have gone through the commander programs and have moved on. And now I happen to have the new commander of give me your title.
Cadet Commander for Anoka, sir.
Cadet Commander, okay. And why don't you tell us a little bit about why you've gone through all you've gone through to become the Cadet Commander?
Well, a lot of it, what first happened is it was something sort of like this, where I read about a girl from the Elk River area, which is where I live, who was in Civil Air Patrol helping out with disaster relief programs. She went up and helped sandbag at the Duluth. And at that time I was interested in going into the Air Force, and it seemed like a really good fit. So I went to the Anoka Squadron and I checked it out and attended meetings, and I ended up really enjoying it, so I stayed. But that's kind of how I got into Civil Air Patrol. What kind of kept me staying was just the program in general. It's definitely given me so many leadership experiences and just that training that it's really hard to find anywhere else. As a 17-year-old, I'm in charge of the only honor guard within the Minnesota state for Civil Air Patrol, and being a cadet commander or learning how to plan a class that's supposed to take an hour and then training cadets with that. And so it's given me so much in that regard. And then just the posture and the self-confidence to be able to come out and do an event like an air show where you're interacting with public and people who you don't necessarily know, but still being able to direct planes and make sure that people are staying safe.
here with Randy today, and what is you're here with EEA chapter, and can you tell us a little bit about your role in that?
Sure, it's actually not EEA, but EAA, which stands for Experimental Aircraft Association. And what our chapter is basically a group of pilots, people interested in building, and EAA in general, it's part of a national organization. And what we have is like different segments. You got like the International Aerobatics Society, you got the vintage, you've got people who build like the experimental side. We do things also like the Young Eagle flights that we have sponsored today. So if you had a kid between the ages of like 8 and 17, they can take a totally free ride in the air, get their feet wet with aviation. So yeah, that's kind of what we do. And then of course we hold pancake breakfasts and help the community out by, anything aviation related in any way we can.
Yeah, and why do you love being a part of this for the community?
That's a darn good question. A lot of people will tell you it's a camaraderie that most people, pilots, like to get together with other pilots, but there's all kinds of aspects. If you're looking to build something, for instance, where do you go? It's not like you can always just find kit aircraft for sale. So there's a lot of aspects to that. It's like model aviation, you build something, but this is on a much larger scale. By the way, this is Dick McKenney. He's our vice president.
Hi, Dick. Nice to meet you. And you're the vice president of EAA?
Yeah, I give free advice.
Chapter 237, not the organization in Oshkosh.
Okay, awesome. And what is your role as a vice president?
I come to meetings and I fly airplanes.
How long have you flown airplanes for?
Since I was 16 years old.
Wow. And how many years is that?
100 years ago.
100! Wow, we got a winner here. And what's your favorite part about being involved in this chapter?
Airplanes. And the people.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for the opportunity you give everyone for coming out here. So we are here with Carl today and his plane that we have here. And Carl, you also said that you served, and how long was that for?
In World War II, I served for 4 years, and during the Korean War, I served for 3 years.
Okay, and for serving, did that make you want to get a plane, or how did that...
Well, in that I went through the Air Force Flight School, it gave me some interest in aviation, yes.
Okay, all right. And we have this sticker right here, and can you tell us a little bit about it and what it represents for you?
Well, it's simply an emblem that shows that you've served in World War II.
And how many airplanes do you own?
Well, right now I have 3 airplanes, a Piper, a Grumman, and a Mooney.
And what made you want to get those types of airplanes?
Well, one is for speed, and one is for acrobatic flying, and one, like this Cherokee here, is to come into sod fields where it's soft and the plane is a little more forgiving.